The time being 6:00 p.m. on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, I will call this meeting of the Webster School Committee to order and ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, both video and audio, and will be posted on the district website. The first item on the agenda is the discussion and approval of the minutes from the September 23rd, 2025 meeting. Is there any discussion around those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Morelos?
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Member Stoigler?
Yes.
Tracy Beatty?
Yes, motion passes. And the next item is the discussion and approval of the minutes from the executive session that also took place on September 23rd, 2025. Any discussion around those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Morelos?
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Member Stoigler?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes, motion passes. And the next item on the agenda this evening is our superintendent's report. Good evening, Mrs. Perangeli.
Good evening. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I will start tonight with my personnel update. There are no retirements at this time for new hires. I am happy to say that we had 4 recently. We have a Chelsea Bond, paraprofessional at Park Ave Elementary. Vicki Parsons, also a para at Park Ave Elementary. Heather Wilcox, who is a special education teacher at Park Ave, and then Eleni Barakalis, a paraprofessional at Webster Middle School. I'd like to welcome all of them to Webster Public Schools, and we're excited to have them on board. We did recently have a resignation, Mr. Jack McPherson, who was a paraprofessional at the high school. We did do an exit interview with him, as we are throughout the school year doing exit interviews with our staff. We have no transfers at this time, and then below is a list of vacancies. As you can see, it's the majority of paraprofessionals, instructional assistants, and ABAs. There is one missing that I just remembered. It was a 1.0 pre-K teacher that we're trying to fill at Park Ave. I do know there were interviews going on today. I'm not sure where we are with that. But it's still a vacant position that is not on this list. We have been able to fill the other vacant positions for special education teachers that we've been looking for this year, so I'm happy about that. Are there any questions about personnel? No? Okay, moving on. I thought it was fitting, and I couldn't remember, I think I gave a high level about this report, para and ABA training over the summer. We've worked really hard to look at ways in order to retain staffing. We see a high turnover with our paraprofessionals and our ABAs. So we worked on a training program over the summer for incoming paraprofessionals and ABAs. The hope is that we have this training before they actually start, that they can come in, they spend a day or two, a day in district, and then another half day at their school, getting some training to make them feel more prepared, which will hopefully help leading to some retention of paras. As you know, those roles have been very difficult to fill, and we often see the high turnover rate. This is not just for Webster. We've seen these shortages across the state, but we have to work on how we can provide a strong foundation for the role and to support our staff who provide many services across the district. They work with some of our most challenging kids in special education, and we have to do our best to make them feel supported and prepared for their roles. The training is being conducted by Ms. Debbie Rivera. She is our Director of Curriculum. She also was a director before coming to Webster and in behavioral schools. She has a lot of experience. We also have our Assistant Director of Student Support, Carol Cohen, Ms. Cohen, who's also willing to provide training. So between the two of them, we have 2 trainings scheduled a month but we look to move them depending on how we're hiring. Sometimes the hiring doesn't always align with the incoming of staff, and it's important. Our schools, I know, are often looking to fill these roles as soon as possible, so they have been flexible with adjusting some of those dates as needed if it arises, if the need arises. So it's a work in progress. We're still working through, trying to work out any kinks that we have, but the feedback that we've been getting from the support staff that have been going through the training is that it is very helpful and they've appreciated. And actually, you know, in a different situation, we had one who worked a day in the school first and then came, and she took some of the questions that she had from that first day and brought them into the training and really was able to have some good conversation about how do I address this need, how do I address that. So it almost better prepared her for the questions that she might have in the role. So I think it's some good stuff going on there. It's just tweaking it and finding out what the right mix is of what we need to provide. What we did is that DESE has a bunch of modules out there for paraprofessionals. They've been putting them on their website. So Ms. Rivera did watch all of the modules, and she kind of condensed and pulled and picked from all of them to create the training. Right now, all of our paraprofessionals have, on our PD days, have been going through the trainings and the modules. So all the new paras that didn't maybe get the training last year are now getting the training of those modules as we go through the year, and we'll continue to get some of those finish them up as we go through. So I'm really happy with it, and we'll continue to improve on it, and hopefully this will lead to retention of staff, making people feel better prepared for their roles as paraprofessionals and ABAs. Any questions about that? Oh, thanks. Next, I had sent you an article, a press release from DESE about a new AI curriculum pilot. This pilot is expected to reach about 1,600 students across 30 schools in Massachusetts. I'm happy to say that our Mr. Art Duke, who is one of our Project Lead the Way teachers, participated over the summer in this training and just received his first lesson, which he will integrate into his PLTW course. They are asked to take this lesson that they're given by DESE, implement that into their curriculum and try and work it through with the kids, and then give feedback on the use of AI in the program. This new curriculum will serve as a model that Project Lead the Way can share across its networks of schools and partners nationwide. As you know, we're building up our programs within our pathways and hope to look for new ways to expand. And I want to thank Mr. Duke for his willing to always learn more, seeing how he can better his instruction and being open to new ideas. He is he's one of our teachers who is very committed to our pathways and our Project Lead the Way curriculum, and we appreciate all his efforts in all of this. So we'll continue to update you as he goes through the year and sees what he finds. And as you know, AI has been a hot topic across the state and how we implement AI in our schools. That is on the list of policies that we need to work on, which is, going to take a bigger role as we need to incorporate teachers. We should actually have a small committee on that to figure out what we're going to do for that. So that's on our radar to do this school year as well. Any other questions on that? Any questions? No? Moving on, CTE, so Career and Technology Education Programs, the middle school waiver. As a district with middle schools that have access to CTE programs, either through our high school or through the membership in the CTE district or county agricultural school, as you know, any of our students here in Webster can apply to Bay Path or can also go to an agricultural school if there's not one around here that has it. Districts must develop and implement and submit a middle school pathway exploration policy. So this was reported out by DESE late over the summer. The deadline for either the policy or the waiver is on November 1st. I will be applying, or I have applied for a waiver for the November 1st. We do have a policy, but it has not been put before you yet. So we're reviewing it. I have it ready, I think, to go to you guys in November. and then it'll do the number of readings, and then we'll be able to submit the policy in. So it is pretty much done. It's being reviewed, or has been reviewed, and will be brought to you shortly for your approval in the next batch of policy reviews. So we are working on that. I'm also happy to say, when we talk about our pathways or the programs that we have out there, we've also been working really hard at promoting our schools and promoting the high school with our middle school students, and promoting what they can have when they come to the high school. What programs do we offer? We sent notices home to not, one thing we did was we sent notices home with our families at All Saints to sign up for tours or have a shadow day where they can come in and shadow with one of our students for the day, which is great. In addition, all of our students were invited to come to our showcase night on November 6th in our cafeteria from 6 to 8 p.m. We also had the middle school 8th graders come up to our high school last week to talk to our counselors and a couple of students about the offerings that we have at the high school. Our hope is that we're talking to kids at the same time. They're going to be going off to Bay Path, so they know what we can offer them as well, to give them options so they're comparing when they go to look. So I'm really excited about the work the high school is doing. They're doing a great job, and they're looking for ways to improve on the communication and the outreach. We're hoping that we get some students from All Saints to come in who want to shadow us for a day to see what it's like at Bartlett High School, to kind of go through a schedule with our students. We welcome them, and as always, we welcome any questions or concerns that anybody might have. I know the high school principal is always willing to talk about the high school and the exciting things that are happening there, and we look forward to welcoming them. Are there any questions about that? No? And next, I have our Director of Student Support Services here. We're going to be doing this throughout the year now. We'll be giving curriculum updates, updates from our special ed, and updates from our L department and our grants department as we go through, so you get updates on a regular basis. So, Shari, you want to give your update on special education?
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli. So Mrs. Perangeli gave a very thorough update on staffing for special education in relationship to our IAs, ABAs, teaching staff. In a previous school committee meeting, I mentioned the move-in. So today I'm going to focus on some updates that are very specific to special education. The first one is safety care. We have a safety care training schedule that is continuous throughout the year, that is really timely, effective, and also takes into consideration fiscal responsibility. We also, in the past month, we received our corrective action report. It was accepted, so there's no further action on that. We submitted today, as a matter of fact, a report that was required by DESE on indicators 4A and 4B. They're relative to discipline. 4A is discipline related to students with disability, and 4B is relative to students that are of color. So that was, they're looking to see if there was any like extensive disciplinary action based on students with disability or of color. We also submitted a report on indicator 7, which is for students in preschool that are either entering or exiting. And our last indicator report that we submitted was on indicator 14, that was relative to dropout rates. We started the school year with all of our parochial school and homeschool students fully staffed in terms of receiving their services, which was wonderful. We were able to invest in some sensory supports and supplies with grant money from fiscal year 2024. That was inclusive of items like jewelry, trampolines, like dividers to give privacy for students when they're receiving some services, such as discrete trials. We also invested heavily in AAC devices. We were able to fund Goalbook, which is an online platform to support the development of IEP goals, and also has a data collection and additional types of behavioral supports that could be used. Since July 4th, we have received 4 PRS complaints. PRS is the problem resolution system that a family or guardian could submit a complaint if they have one against the district. So I'm pleased to announce that out of the 4, there was 2 had no findings. 1 was rescinded with no further action, and another was rescinded as a result of what we call an LEA agreement. That's when the school district could work with the family collaboratively to come up with a resolution for their concerns, and that was successful. We're also implementing walkthroughs with a specific focus on looking at our inclusion programming this year. And one other thing that I'd like to add in terms of some things that I'm really proud of in particular is that we created a think tank for special education, which is inclusive of representatives from all 3 buildings. We have teachers, counselors, BCBAs, team chair people, administrators, and we meet monthly to talk about special education concerns and strategies. This week's meeting is going to focus on developing a protocol for determining one-to-one support. So I'm excited about that. The focus, though, of my update is really going to be around speech and language. Is this a good time to talk about this piece?
Sure, we
Okay.
can talk about it, but we'll have to do the vote separate later.
Yes. So I chose speech and language because one of our largest numbers in special education is around students that have a communication disability. And we are seeing unusual numbers. And it used to be for students that don't speak, you would refer to them as nonverbal. The new language and terminology that's being used is for non-speaking students. So this summer, we received 8 neuropsych evaluations that were reviewed by our Park Avenue Elementary School psychologist. This is really unusual, and the numbers are very high because neuropsychs are very expensive. It's very difficult to get an appointment, and it's usually reserved for children that have very significant disabilities. And what we found in those neuropsych evaluations are students that were non-speaking, require higher level of support that could look like additional adults or a separate environment. So that was very, very unusual. We also noticed a trend of very high caseloads amongst our speech and language professionals. An average caseload would be between 40 and 60 cases. We're seeing upwards of in the high 60s, high 70s, and in the 80s. But what really drew my attention and why I wanted to report out on this as one of my first updates was due to the fact that last year we had funding for 25 AAC devices. They have all been deployed. And I thought these were some really interesting and telling numbers that we have 25 students and 26 students, in preschool that are non-speaking. So they're either with us as an integrated student, sub-separate, or itinerant student, and that number is 26. And then when you compare it to the rest of Park Avenue Elementary School, K through 4, there's 28 students that are also non-speaking. So those numbers are very, 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 very impactful, and we're monitoring them. Right now, there isn't any literature or research that's conclusive as to why those numbers are so high, but in speaking with our staff, they suspect that there's better resources in terms of diagnosing students when they're younger, and that could be impacting the reason why we're seeing this trend that there's higher level of diagnoses. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for that report. It sounds like the number of students that are classified as non-speaking in preschool, right, is almost equal to the number of students that are diagnosed as non-speaking in the following 5 grades. Is that right?
That's correct. We are investing in 15 additional AAC devices, assistive augmentive devices to help the students access their voice, and it's been very effective. Recently, I went into a substantially separate classroom, and the student motioned to me to open her chips, and I opened them. And then I asked her, prior to opening it, I asked her to use her device to ask me. But when she asked me, she didn't ask me to open her chips. She asked me to open fruit chews. And it wasn't a mistake, because when I opened the chips and I gave it to her, no, and she went back to her AAC device and opened the chews, and I went and I got it for her, and I opened it, and she was so happy, and I just felt like without that technology, I would have never known if she was upset, why she was upset. So it was really great to see it in action, and she was, I think, in kindergarten or first grade, and when I saw all those little tiny icons, it wasn't just like 8 big icons. She was speaking to me through this technology in 5 to 7 words, which I thought was pretty amazing.
That is really amazing. And you described a situation where it could have been seen as almost like a behavioral episode that was very quickly diffused by her having a voice. Thanks for sharing that. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Okay, we'll continue on. Thank you, Sherry. So next on my reports, I have in your packet, you should have a copy of the CMC annual report. We are required to hand this out so you can see on the prior years collaborative. So that is for your enjoyment. You can read at your leisure. Thank you for that. And then just another point for CMC, annually when we have a new member, we have an incoming new superintendent in Worcester this year. So he attended the board meetings for the first time. We did a reorganization, and I have been voted in as chair of that board now. So I am excited to take on that new role. And I thank my colleagues for their support, I think. And other updates, just a couple grants to let you know about. The Safe and Supported Schools Competitive Grant was awarded in the amount of $10,000. These funds were applied to support the planning work with the May Institute of PBIS District Systems Fidelity Inventory. In writing the grant, we anticipate needing the plan for actions related to stakeholder engagement, discipline policies, focusing on exclusion versus alternatives, and some initiatives such as PBIS, are they reducing or not reducing the exclusionary practices. So we will, I want to thank Dr. Mackay for applying for that grant. And then again, we always look for any help that we can get with funding across the district to make our district stronger. The second grant received was the Strengthening Career and Technical Education Secondary Reserve Federal Grant. This one is in the amount of $5,000. These funds will be used to support our DECA competitions and supports dues for students participating, along with transportation for events and career-related field trips. They do use the school buses that we have when they're available, but in the event that they're not available, because we're using them a little more frequently now, they'll have some funds to support the students in their program. They're also using this grant to purchase an embroidery machine for the school store, which can be used by students to learn how to do shirts. So they're doing a lot more with the school store, and we're excited for all of their work. And I want to thank Ms. Michelle Bigelow for applying for this grant. So, thank you. And then moving on September 24th, I attended the Worcester County Superintendent Association meeting, which was held at Holy Cross. During that meeting, we had Glenn Kuchar of MASC, who held a Q&A about the work that MASC is engaging in and the challenges they're facing across the state. During this meeting, we discussed some things like the CTE policy. Funding was another topic that we discussed. And during that meeting, the topic of policy reviews and the number of readings came up. Many districts were having a hard time meeting the deadline because of the way the meetings fell. If they only had one meeting a month, they needed to wait 2 meetings before they were able to approve it. And so not knowing where the 3 readings came from or having any history, everybody said it was a district-specific decision. So I went back to our policy book and wasn't able to find anything in the policy book. So I did answer my question that I had in there. I did call MASC, and policy BGB actually talks about policy adoption. And there are 3 things that you need to do during a policy review. You need information on the item, so it needs to be on the agenda. You need to discuss the item, and then you need to take action on the item. So I think that's why we had 3 meetings over the years, to a meeting for each one. And what I was informed is that you don't need to do each one in a separate meeting. You can combine some of these. So a lot of times what districts do is they hand it out for information at the first meeting, and then at the second meeting, they'll discuss and approve. So they narrow it down. So I'm just putting that out there for the committee. I know it's always been our practice, and I don't need an answer tonight. We can, think on this for sure, but I'm throwing it out there that instead of taking 3 meetings, which can take some time to get a policy approved, that maybe we want to shorten that and do 2, actually, do the first reading as an introduction, and then the second meeting can be a discussion and vote to kind of help move the process along. It'll give us the opportunity to maybe get through some more and to address them a little more quickly as we go. So I just wanted to put that out there for the committee. We still are going through our normal process now. I'm not asking to shorten it. At this point, maybe when we start the next batch, we can decide how we want to proceed with the next batch of policy updates.
So just to clarify, Mrs. Perangeli, during the first reading, there would be sort of an introduction to the policy, and we would discuss what that policy is and any changes that have been made?
Usually it's information. Here's the policy, this is what we're changing, this is why we're doing it. And then the second meeting could be the discussion and approval of, taking action on it.
Thank you.
And it's actually under policy adoption, which is BGB. And I said, now I get it. There's 3 little dots there. So it was a learning curve for me. So it's always good. Are there any other questions? No? That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for your updates, Mrs. Perangeli. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? The next item on the agenda is the business manager report. Good evening, Mrs. Contos.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to give you a start with the school building project. First up on the docket is furniture, fixtures, and equipment, better known as FF&E. We're wrapping up those bid specifications. The bid advertising has been initiated. It's been initiated across multiple venues as required by law. So the advertisements are going live. Bid docs are available at the end of October, and they're all due by November 10th. And so the plan is that once we get those bids in, we will do the evaluation process, and the plan is for all of that furniture to be delivered for phases 1 and 2, or I should say sections C and B, to be installed over next summer. And then the remaining furniture for Section A will be held until A is finished. And then when A opens, it will open with new furniture in it. So if that makes sense. So next summer is when C and B section will get all brand new furniture. At that point, Section A will be under construction. And then when it opens with new furniture. Make sense?
Is that October?
October, yes. Still doing work on move planning, so that's probably a good topic to lean into. We're going to start doing some pre-planning for what it looks like to move and what those activities will look like for this February, but also with an eye on next year, right? Because some of that planning we will have to do a little bit as we look at the school calendar next year. When is that section going to be finished? What do we need to do? So we're having conversations with respect to move planning as well. With respect to Section B, the renovation continues. We're still in that roughing phase and getting the building sealed up and closed up. The other activity that we're working on is preparing to connect Section B to Section 6 electrical, the electrical panel. So we're going to be tying in all of the electricity into that panel. Looks like it's going to be early November. We're shooting right now for Veterans Day. If it doesn't happen on Veterans Day, it'll be deferred until the day after Thanksgiving. We're doing some prep work this week for that activity, but that'll be a big cutover to tie into the electricity and get that up and running. So that's going on there. With respect to the auditorium, as you know, I had reported best case scenario was going to be October 16th. Worst case scenario was going to be the end of this month, early November. We did receive the outcome of the testing that was done on September 26th. Just so you know, they come in, they do their testing. It takes 2 weeks for them to get the test results back and to issue the reports. We did get the reports after hours on Friday night, and all of the actions that needed to be remediated from the moisture testing had been resolved. So that had all been cleared up. Out of the testing that they did, 4 of the tests came back and the results had dropped as we expected. However, there were 3 elevated tests. So proactively, our GC, in learning about it verbally, had mobilized really quickly to get another testing done on Friday and is pushing to expedite the return of those results so that we can rule out whether or not there were variables in different conditions that factored into the outcome of it being elevated, given the fact that all of the actions that they were directed to do to remediate did not produce the outcome that they were expecting. So that's where we are with that. And so mobilizing on that and looking to hopefully get that answer back so we can figure out what needs to be done, whether or not this was really kind of a false test or if there's more action that needs to happen. Any questions?
Through the chair.
Member Anamopoulos?
With the weather that we had Sunday through yesterday, was there any additional
There's been no additional infiltration of water.
good news?
Yes.
Yeah. The parapet that we talked about is a big step in terms of helping that and preventing that from happening, but there has been no additional water infiltration.
Maybe we can put together a slideshow, because I'm thinking they haven't really seen the inside and the development for the next meeting.
Oh, yeah,
We can
that'd be
come.
great.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, I'm going to move on to some regular maintenance updates, some operational items. At Bartlett, we actually did have an issue with the HVAC system that supports this district office. 2 panels were not functioning, and those panels have since been replaced. However, as a result of replacing those panels, we discovered that the compressor was failing. It's semi-functional right now, but we have a new compressor on order, and we'll be getting that replaced. The good news on all of these items is that all of those parts were under warranty, so no cost to us from that standpoint, only for the labor. At Webster Middle School, we had 3 sprinkler heads that had to be replaced, along with a drain pump. And on the gymnasium, we have 3 rooftop units that support the gymnasium. 1 of the 3 is not functioning. Those parts are on order, and then once they come in, those will be replaced. We also have some fans in the boiler room that need a motor replaced, and that work is also being scheduled. Lastly, at Park Ave, we actually have a software system that manages our building management system, and it was throwing all kinds of alarms and monitors in the HVAC system. We had a technician come in, look at all of those alarms, resolve all of those areas, and get to the root cause and get that rectified. So now that that's been resolved, we'll closely monitor how the temperature is in the building, and if there's any other additional issues, we'll investigate that further. Questions? Okay, I'm going to move on to some other updates. I have a number of other updates, and I will go into some depth on some, and others I'll stay a little higher level. So I wanted to give you an update on E-rate funding for the district. I'm not sure how familiar you are with E-rate, but it's a federal program that provides financial support to schools for high-speed internet and network infrastructure. It can cover up to 90% of the cost for services like broadband, Wi-Fi upgrades, or any kind of internal connections. The discounts you get really vary based upon the percentage of students who are eligible for reduced or free lunch, or whether or not the school is located in an urban or rural area. Historically, we have received high levels of funding, between 85 and 90%, for our E-rate programs. Now, there's two different categories. There's Category 1 and Category 2. So Category 1 is for internet access and broadband service, while Category 2 is for internal connections like Wi-Fi access points or network equipment that supports your infrastructure. On a quarterly basis, we do receive our funding report, and so for the prior year, E-rate for Category 1, we received close to $7,800 worth of funding that was paid to Spectrum for our broadband services. So I think that's good news. During the last E-rate cycle, when we looked to how we want to spend that money that we're eligible to use, we made a decision to look across the district to increase our broadband service across the entire district, to upgrade our firewalls, and to upgrade the wireless access points and switches at Park Avenue. From a broadband or internet increase, we went from 1 gigabyte to, across all 3 buildings, to 2 gigabyte per building. So it's a significant increase, and it really is needed with the amount of online resources that we're using for learning, as well as the testing. We were finding that we were having challenges at different times during testing, and so the increase really was needed to support all of the SaaS kind of solutions, software as a service solutions, that we use across the district. The firewall configuration changes were completed over this past summer, and the wireless access points for Park Ave will be upgraded over winter break. And so what we're looking at from the broadband upgrade, the good news is that essentially it was a minor increase annually of $84, so essentially flat to go from what we had across the entire district to what we now have per building. From a firewall standpoint, E-rate was covering $9,300 worth for both services and hardware, and for the access points and the switches, it was roughly around $159,000 worth of coverage for both hardware and services. So it's a wonderful program that we're happy that we take advantage of, because it's a way for us to keep our infrastructure up to date and meeting the needs of the students. Any questions? All right, next, I want to give you some updates on the OSD inflation rate. So the Operational Services Division, by law, is required to come out with an estimated rate for special education tuition, and they are estimating for the following fiscal year at 3.04% increase. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background as this relates to increases, because we talk a lot about our upcoming budget season and the cost of special education services. In your packet, I did give you a historical breakdown. Between 2011 and 2026, the rate has been approximately 2.01%. However, our higher areas have been in the last 2 years, where we've been at 3% or 3.12%. There was 1 year in this overall history that there was a major spike, or that was really done deliberately by the state, and it was done to do both what they call a COLA increase as well as workforce stabilization. And so what they did in 2024, that increase was actually 14%. And so what they did was they did a cost of living increase of a little over 5%, and then they did a workforce stabilization of 8.82%. They basically did that to help those schools and those programs to attract teachers, and they were having significant staffing shortages and high turnover across the state, so that was what they needed to do to really help those programs succeed. But I think if we look at the last 3 years and what we're seeing in terms of increases, you know, we're looking at over the last 3 years, 20% increases in those placements that we do out of district. So I think it's important for us to keep an eye on it. Good news is we have our rate, and we can factor that into our budget planning as we move into fiscal year '27. Any questions? All All right, I also included in your packet, for your reading pleasure, a report. It's only 160 pages long, and it really is about the study that was done by the state on the SOA and ESSER spending in Massachusetts. You may recall, I think last May, we reported that we participated in this study, so we did participate in a couple sessions relative to this. And so this report was specifically done to look at how Massachusetts leveraged funding from the Student Opportunity Act and from the federal ESSER program that happened. During that period of time, districts across Massachusetts received $3.4 billion to support their programs, and they saw that these funds increased per pupil spending by 38%, even though enrollment actually declined over that time by 3%. So I want to highlight some of the key points from this report for you. Some of the key spending trends is that overall LEA budgets rose by about 32%, with the per pupil expenditures growing from fiscal year 18 from $19,748 to $27,196 over that period of time. We saw that instructional spending remained stable at about 58% of the overall budgets, but subcategories like professional development and technology saw faster growth. Teacher salaries stayed the largest category, though their share of total spending declined as those other two categories increased. The other thing that was highlighted in the report was equity and subgroup insights. So high-need LEAs, those serving low-income students and English learners, prioritize a couple key things with the spending that they had: mental health and family liaison services, as well as pupil services and instructional technology. These LEAs also saw growth in teacher FTEs and salary spending. Those still lag per pupil teacher expenditures compared to wealthier districts. And gateway cities increased staffing faster, but spent $831 less per pupil on teacher salaries than non-gateway districts. So those are a couple high points for you to mention. In your packet, I summarized a few other things, but I'm going to end it with what the recommendations are and what the next steps are. So the study recommendations concluded with they're going to conduct some more updated spending studies, explore the impacts on specific student populations. They're going to investigate staffing and cost drivers, and then monitor the long-term outcomes from ESSER as those funds wind down and the SOA plateaus. With that in mind, as we talk about SOA and Chapter 70, I also want to share that the Healy-Driscoll administration announced a series of public listening sessions to solicit some feedback on Chapter 70 funding. So if you are interested, there are 2 sessions which may be feasible for local people that if they want to attend in person. There is one on Thursday, October 30th from 4:30 to 6:30 at Doherty Memorial High School. If you can't make that one, there is a virtual session that is going to happen on November 18th from 4 to 7 p.m. If anyone's interested, I can send you the link to register if you're interested in listening to that. I know that I'll be joining one of those myself, but I thought that you might want to be aware of that as well. Okay, and that nicely leads into where we are with fiscal year 27 budget planning. So October is the month that we kick off where our departments do their independent budgeting activities within their own areas to come forward with a needs-based budget. And as the departments are working on that, I also included in your packet an article about what schools potentially stand to lose with the next federal education budget. So as you know, with the administration's focus on education is different than what it has been in the past. There's more focus with this administration on school choice and cutting kind of traditional grant funding programs. So that's things like we talked about when Dr. Mackay was here, Title I and teacher development. And so a couple key callouts first that we did touch upon, but I wanted to highlight again, is that Title I in the House version of the budget is being proposed to be reduced up to 26%. And now Title I is support for low-income students, so things like supplementing schools for serving high-poverty communities, intervention programs like tutoring and after-school support or any literacy initiatives. and then any kind of resources that you can do to close achievement gaps. Title II is being proposed to be eliminated. That is focused on teacher professional development, so things like teacher training, mentorship, and instructional coaching, support for recruiting and retaining teachers, and then any programs aimed at improving classroom instruction is at risk. Then lastly is Title III, that's also being proposed to be eliminated. That focuses on English language learner support. So what's at risk there is language acquisition programs for multilingual learners, and then any kind of culturally responsive curriculum development. So things that we're certainly keeping an eye on and decisions that we'll need to make in terms of how we approach our budget this year, whether or not we decide to include all of that funding that we had in those grant programs into our budget or not, but we're going to have to keep a close eye on this. So certainly there's larger implications if this goes forward, and understanding what it means when the federal government kind of steps back from the role that they played in this, and then the role that the state will have to pick up in terms of managing what's left of the programs after it goes through the legislative process. So, on the topic of the federal government, as we know, we have a shutdown right now. So in terms of impact to us, from a food services standpoint, we have gotten assurances that we are good through the end of October with respect to reimbursements for our food services program. On the federal grant funding side of the house, there's no immediate impact on us right now. Our current grants that we're approaching were funded with last year's budget. So right now, we're in a good situation, and that's not impacting us. We'll just keep an eye out on what it means for food services as this shutdown continues. And then lastly, want to highlight the result of our kitchen inspection. So all 3 kitchens were inspected by the Board of Health, and they all have passed. So that is a true testament to our cafeteria staff and their level of professionalism and their dedication to not only serving delicious food, but in a healthy way as well. So, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Condos. Any questions or comments from the committee? As usual, there's lots going on, from the building project to all of the rest of the updates that you gave us. I know the budget process is going to be exceptionally challenging this year. So thanks for all the updates and the work that you all are doing on that.
Thanks.
The next item on the agenda is the principal's report, and joining us this evening from Park Ave Elementary is Miss Amy Poliafico. Good evening.
Good evening. So I'm going to start with our school opening. We did have a strong start to the year. Teachers worked really hard to set strong routines and foundations and expectations for the students. So we really did have a smooth start that continued when kindergarten and preschool started as well. Always, we do it once and then we do it again when our littlest ones come. We currently have 144 staff members. We are struggling to fill several IA and ABA positions, as well as long-term sub positions. We have 5 maternity leaves right now. We do have 1 filled. Yep. We have 772 students currently. That was the reading today on Power School. We've had 39 new students since the start of the year. Our kindergarten class is 146 students, so that's a big kindergarten class and growing. They weren't all kindergarten students, but I saw 4 new folders ready with students ready to place sitting on Miss Reed's desk this afternoon. And our largest current grade is grade 3. If you remember, we moved a teacher from grade 4 to grade 3 to accommodate that large class coming in. And as Murphy's Law happens, I have gotten numerous move-ins in grade 4. We are currently at 148 students in grade 4, so 2 students less than grade 3. So they just keep coming and coming. We welcome them all with open arms. We've had some events, moving on to events. We did have our open house on September 18th. We had 381 families attend, which is a good amount. We also had our first community meeting, which is always good. We had all the students come in together into the gym. We were able to welcome our kindergartners. So last year, we said goodbye to our fourth graders with a tunnel of teachers as they left. And this year, we welcomed our kindergartners with a tunnel of teachers and welcomed them to Park Ave in that same way. We also had a visit from Boston Children's for grade 4. This was sponsored by Mafre Fundación. And Boston Children's came to speak about the importance of helmets and wearing them correctly, as well as seatbelts and wearing them correctly. Gave the students some ideas of what can happen if you're not properly protected on your bike, on your scooter, or in the car. We will have another one later when bike riding season starts to resume for families to help them strengthen that message at home as well. As part of that, we had a visit from Princess Elena from Spain, who is the director of Mafre Fundación. So I know she visited all 3 schools and saw some of the work that we do in our schools. Last week, we had the Webster Fire Department in to do fire safety for all our grades. I think one of the important things they do is, especially for our younger students, is dress up in the full gear so the students can see, because that's a very scary look when they have that full mask on and they sound like Darth Vader. So for the students to be able to see if, God forbid, they were ever in a situation where somebody had to come rescue them, what that person looks like, so they know not to be afraid that that is a safe person in a scary situation. We also had a fire drill where, for the first time in a long time, they tried to pull a fast one and steal a student, and so we wouldn't know that they had taken a student, but we successfully identified that that student was missing, which always gives me a big sigh of relief that we're able to, that our systems are in place to keep all of our students safe. So that really is a shout out to the due diligence of the teachers in checking their rosters and communicating and the systems that are in place. So that's something I take very seriously, so I'm very glad that we passed that sneaky test. Something new that we are starting this year is under the brainchild of our Dean of Students, Mr. Aronian. He's always bringing the fun. We've started a PAE news show with our news team. It happens every other week, and the segments that you're about to see are pretty much the segments that occur, PBIS, some interview segments, and it really highlights the wonderful acting of our news team. So enjoy.
What I've learned at Park Ave, there's bosses and there's bosses. I got your coffee. But you didn't say cream. Yeah, I guess Glacier's in charge. Hi, welcome to Video Game Central, where all we talk about is. Hi, welcome to Two Bears in a Chair, where we learn about Park Ave style. I gave this script to her like 9 times. Hi, welcome to the show. You're new to the school. What's your passion and what do you like to do on your spare time?
I am passionate about reading, and on my spare time, I like to spend time with my family.
What do you like to do at Park Ave?
At Park Ave, I like to help our friends. I'm here to help with anything. If anybody needs any extra clothes, food, anything that their families may need, they can come out and I'll help them out. And I also speak Spanish for our friends that may need a little extra help with that.
Is there any kids that can help out?
Yes, all the kids here at Park Ave can help. They can help by asking their teachers or any adult that they trust, letting them know if they need help with anything. They can bring them down to my office. I'm in 124, so.
Thanks for your time. Time for a nurse segment. Hi, my name is Benjamin, and we're gonna check out the nurse's office today. Hi, I'm not feeling well. What should I do?
Did you let your teacher know you weren't feeling well?
Yeah,
Okay, and she put a nurse pass in. I see you here. What's your name?
Benjamin.
Benjamin. What's going on, Benjamin?
What are you doing?
Well, your belly hurt, so I'm gonna ask you first, did you have lunch yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. And when did your belly start hurting?
A few minutes ago.
A few minutes ago. I'm just gonna take your temperature to make sure you don't have a fever, okay? All right. Let's see what we got. All right, so since you didn't have a fever, we're gonna have you just lay down and rest for a little while, okay? And see if your belly settles. All right. All right, so we'll let you rest for a few minutes and then hopefully you'll be feeling better and we can get you back up to class, okay? Are you feeling better? Yeah, do you think you want to go back to class?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Have a good rest of your day.
So,
Thank you.
that was easy. Now you don't have to worry about the nurse. Save it and drop your keys. That was really weird. Now for a PBIS moment.
Hi everybody, Mr. Goodyear here, just giving you a quick PBIS tip. I know we often practice here being safe, responsible, and respectful. We wanted to give everybody a chance to see what that looks like up here in first grade. So as we walk down the hallway here, I see some students doing a very nice job waiting safely, respectfully, and responsibly. By the ladies' bathroom, you can see there's more than 3 people in there, so they're waiting outside. And then over here in the boys' area, we see these students waiting patiently in their spot. Nice job, everybody. And then, as we come down the hallway, we might even see a classroom that's walking down the hall safely, responsibly, and respectfully. And if you're not familiar with these terms, you'll learn a lot about being safe, responsible, and respectful. Nice job, Henry. This year, in your classrooms, when we discuss it, you might see these paw coins being passed out. You might even get one yourself. These mean that you did a really nice job being safe, responsible, and respectful somewhere in the school community. We'll talk more about this year, and heck, you might even be able to get into one of these videos and help us out if you're being extra safe, responsible, and respectful. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, everybody.
Mr. Ray, can you hold on a second? Hope you enjoyed the news show. See you in a couple of weeks. Yeah, I got you. Sure.
Yeah, that's it. No, that's it. They have started putting in sort of like the Avengers movies, the scenes from next time. So it grows, but it's just a nice way to introduce the kids to people. They did a segment on our breakfast staff, the people that bring breakfast. They did a segment on our custodians. So just to help the kids throughout the building get to know many of the different members within the building. So the kids have really enjoyed seeing those, and Mr. A has really enjoyed making them, if you didn't notice, and writing himself very funny parts. So moving on to some clubs that we have going on. We have a great selection of after-school clubs happening in school. We have started Real Madrid basketball, which is up and running. We have 38 students. Again, it's another program funded by Mafre. We have coaches, Monique Canty and Sean Heatherman. And this is also, the grant also covers a late bus for the students who are in Real Madrid, which really allows a lot of students to participate. We also have our drama club getting started. They will be doing The Wizard of Oz this year. And our advisors are Carrie Williams and Deb Castellani. So you will, of course, get an invite when that play kicks off. We have Girls on the Run running for its 5th season. The 5K, the official 5K, will be on November 16th. The practice date, which they usually do here at the middle school, has not been set yet, but the actual date is November 16th. And our coaches for that are Sam Lopez Avila and Leslie Peets. We also have a garden club running, as you may have heard about in previous meetings. We have 14 students. It runs at 3 different sessions. So there's a fall session. There'll be a winter session where they focus on starting seeds and growing indoors. And then there's a spring session that focuses on planting. Summer is usually the summer programs that get to harvest a lot of the food, and they do in fall as well. And those are volunteer advisors, Elizabeth Waybetts and Jenna McDonald, which is fantastic. And our Big Brother and Big Sister program will be starting up again. It's expected to run October 28th. That is in partnership with the high school. And that is, they've been doing interviews to make sure to match the students with appropriate high schoolers. They call them bigs, are the big kids, and littles are the little kids. So that should be going at the end of October. And that is Jessa Hutsky, Nicole Suarez Brackett, our new family liaison you just saw in the video, and with partnership with Barbara Smolars at the high school. And that is everything I have. I always start with a nice list, and then it gets added to and added to and added to. But that's everything that's going on. Not everything, but a good chunk of what's going on at PAE since we've started.
Thank you for your updates.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Clearly a great start to the school year, it sounds like.
Yeah.
What an unexpected thing for the fire drill. I'm still thinking about that. Sneaky.
Yeah, yeah.
Good to keep you on your toes, I
It
suppose.
can be
but
scary, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's good to practice it in those moments and test
Right.
our systems.
Right.
You know, you have systems in place, but sometimes you need to test to make sure they work. So I was very thankful that they do.
Yes.
Your peace of mind. And I hope it gives the families peace of mind that we have plans in place to keep all the children safe.
Yep. Yeah, and great. And like you said, your system worked. So that's great.
Yeah, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that new fire chief of ours.
I guess. I guess. Love the news programming too. It gives the kids something to look forward to, I'm sure, and to aspire to be a member of the news team and whatnot. So great work. Still a leadership group too?
We
or-
do still have a leadership team. They run our community meetings as well as some other events throughout the year. So, yeah.
Great leadership opportunities. All right, great. Well, thanks for your updates.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is an update from our student representative. Good evening, Aiden.
I wanted to start by saying some positives. We have an after-school academic support center where extra help offered Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Not on half days, but from 2:15 to 2:45 in the cafeteria. Um, some challenges are school lunch. I feel like for the days that we have away games, it's hard to have enough food. It feels like I'm really hungry before the game, and our coach has been bringing us some things to eat, which is nice. And yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Some student engagement opportunities are all the clubs, whether it's drama, art, or medical. Um, some student events we're having are Staff Trivia Friday, and Homecoming Week begins today through the 18th. The Homecoming Dance takes place Saturday at 6:30. Tickets are on sale or until Friday, and they will be $20. Some family events are the Community Trunk or Treat on Sunday, October 19th from 5 to 7. It will be $5 per treat per treater. And there'll be pizza and popcorn available for purchase, raffles and prizes located at 52 Lake Parkway. Some sports activities are unified basketball at Auburn at 3:30 on the 15th. Varsity football versus Worcester Tech at 6 p.m. on the 17th, and boys varsity soccer versus the Charter of Lowell. That would be at 3:30 on Friday. And the girls play. Oh, sorry. Girls varsity soccer for Shepherd Hill at 3:30 as well. Some senior class updates are the Butter Braids fundraiser that'll be coming next month, and I know if we have any questions or concerns, we can go to Miss Bodette for that. And that concludes my update.
Thanks, Aiden.
Wow.
Tell me more about school lunch. You mentioned it's a challenge because you're feeling hungry on game days, but is it a lunch issue, or is it a like between lunch and game issue, or what's going on?
I feel like it's just like the amount we get, but I also don't feel like it's that bad if you don't have sports. So like if you're not, like when we have home games too, it's not really like that bad. But when we have the away games and it's like an hour away drive and we have to drive an hour back as well, and there's no food from that, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
We can look into that. We used to do a snack program to see, and I'm not sure. I mean, there's monitor and oversight in that, but we can check into that. It's also something good to talk to our food service director about. That's some good feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be late. You know, I have an athlete in the family too, and I know sometimes when they get both my kids, sometimes they get back pretty late, and I find myself trying to find things to stuff in their backpacks before they leave in the morning. But yeah, good feedback. How about the line? Do you find that it's long or it's pretty efficient to get your lunch at lunchtime?
Actually, they just switched it, so now we have both doors for hot lunch, so it's really quick now.
It's better.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
That's good to hear. Yeah, it was taking a while before, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What's your sport? Is it soccer?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mrs. Pransley, did
Oh,
you
no,
say
I was just going to say, I know I had talked with the manager over there, and they were doing hot lunches on one side and cold lunches on the other, so they were going through, but more kids wanted hot lunch, so they were finding a way to do it out of both sides, 2 lines, to speed it up, to make it go a little faster. So I know they started that. I'm glad it's working out. It's moving quickly now. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Great.
Yeah.
When's your next game? Friday? All right. Good luck. Thanks for your updates, Aiden.
Can you tell me about the pep rally today? How did it go? Because that was your first pep rally in that gym.
Yeah, the pep rally was actually really fun. It was nice having our class president come out and speak on the mic. He was having fun, I know it. And yeah, no, it was nice being around everybody and seeing everybody happy, everybody smiling, laughing, enjoying the day. And
Can you all fit in the bleachers?
oh yeah.
Yeah. Made that work. Oh, that's a good thing. So it's nice to see a celebration starting to happen back in our building. So that's great.
Good fun kickoff to what should be a pretty fun week.
Oh, yeah.
Great. All right, any questions or comments from the committee? No? Okay, well, Aiden, thanks for your updates. Good luck at your game on Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aiden.
The next item on our agenda, under old business, is a monthly report on fundraising applications. As a reminder, it's the role of the school committee to review fundraising activity, but we don't approve it. That's done at the building level or the district level. I did notice there were 2 fundraising applications that were in here. One related to, I think it was selling Bartlett gear, and the other bake sale for student council. So good stuff happening. It looks like the fundraiser is going to be this Friday at the homecoming game, right?
Yep.
Great. Likely we can get our Bartlett gear that night too, I would imagine, and throughout the rest of the year as well. Any questions or comments from the committee about the fundraising activities? All right. So the next several items on our agenda are related to policy. Mrs. Perangeli, you shared with us some information related to policy adoption earlier. The last time we talked about policies, we simply read the name of the policies, or anything that we want to do differently this evening with regard to these policies?
I don't think so. I think they've all been introduced. We had some feedback, some little minor corrections that we had the last time. Those adjustments have been made. So again, this would be your second reading, and then you would vote them in at the next school committee meeting.
Okay. Does that sound good to the rest of the committee? Okay. So I will, is there any discussion around any of these policies? Do I need to read them out individually, probably, as a second reading, I would imagine?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it would be helpful.
Okay, here it goes. Second
the
reading
list.
of policy KDCB, district website and social media. Policy JICJ, student use of technology in schools, also second reading. Policy IJNDC, acceptable use of digital resources, second reading. Policy IJNDB, use of technology in instruction, second reading. Policy IJNDBR, Webster Public Schools acceptable use policy, second reading. Policy IJND, access to digital resources, second reading. Policy EHB, data and records retention, second reading. Policy EHAA, district security relating to technology, second reading. Policy BHEE, use of electronic messaging by school committee members, second reading. Policy KDC, community use of digital resources, second reading. Policy GBEE, personnel use of technology, second reading. So we'll have our third reading and acceptance of those policies at our next meeting. The next item on the agenda under new business is the discussion and approval of a 1.0 FTE speech and language assistant at Park Avenue Elementary School.
Yep, I will turn that over to our Director of Student Support Services.
So as part of the director update, I gave you a lot of information about the speech and language pathologist. More specifically, we have 4 across the district, 3 speech pathologists over at Park Avenue. One is serving 68 students. Another is serving 53 with the expectation to exceed 78 by the end of the year. And our third one over at Park Avenue is currently supporting 88 students. We have 2 SLPA, speech and language pathology assistants in the district, and one is full-time over at Park Avenue, and the other one is part-time. And the way that they service kids is they share the treatments with the speech and language pathologists so that all students are seen at least one time with the speech and language pathologists. This is really significant, these numbers, because when you have, for example, 88 students on your caseload, it means you're attending 88 IEP meetings. So it's very, very those numbers are high. In particular, one speech pathologist shared that to date, and granted, we know we're in October, to have 24 evaluations is very, very high. That is, she's almost at 50% of the evaluations that she saw last year in an entire year. So they're a very, very busy department, and we want to stabilize it so that we could provide the necessary services when they're younger, so that as they get older, they will no longer require the services, or they'll reach a plateau and no longer be the need to go out of the classroom and spend time in speech will no longer outweigh it. So we are seeking a full-time position, 1 FTE for a speech and language pathology assistant to lighten the load, which it would allow the speech and language pathologists more time to evaluate our students and provide treatments, and have an opportunity that when they do leave for IEP meetings, that they could make up the time for the students. The particular position that we're requesting is going to be shared through funding from Circuit Breaker and also from proportionate share that is part of the special education grants. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Hare. Any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, thank you for all the detailed information you shared, not only just now, but earlier with regard to this real need. Hearing no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve this additional 1.0 speech and language assistant at Park Avenue Elementary School.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Desiree, would you please pull the committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, motion passes. And the next item on the agenda is the acceptance of donations from the Bartlett Gridiron Club. They donated 48 blackout uniform jerseys to our team. Any discussion around that? No? Well, thank you. Well, no further discussion. I'll entertain a motion to accept those donations.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Desiree, would you please pull the committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, motion passes. And once again, thank you to the Gridiron Club for their tireless efforts. The next item on our agenda is to enter into executive session according to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss strategy for negotiations with union personnel, specifically the instructional assistants. We will enter back into open session, but it will simply be for the purposes of a warrant signing. We can do the warrant now. We're not voting on it tonight. So I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session according to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss strategy for negotiations with union personnel, specifically the instructional assistants, and we will not be reconvening in open session.
Second.
A motion, maybe?
You just said you made a motion.
Oh, I was entertaining a motion. You want to make it?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Desiree, would you please pull the committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So our open meeting will be adjourning. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our open meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Desiree, would you please pull the committee on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.